All right, guys, welcome to Take Your Base. I'm your host, Flaw Oriana, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. Man, coming into this week, kept on refreshing Twitter so much. Really wanted to know, asked for what's going on with this Carlos Correa. And yes, I am extremely disappointed because Carlos Correa is now officially a Minnesota Twin. Not upset, but disappointed. Disappointed in the aspect of that. You know what? We had something, but it was never concrete. And the Mets did their due diligence. They ended up, doing everything that they can. What really scared him away was that ankle injury that he had back in 2014, right before he came into the big leagues. The Giants were scared. They backed out of the deal immediately. The Mets were scared, but I don't know. From everything that I'm hearing, report-wise, I think maybe Steve Cohen may have shot himself in the foot when he ended up telling John Heyman of the New York Post that this is the final piece that we needed in regarding towards Carlos Correa. And in my head, I'm like, man, why did you? After I read that article, I'm like, why did you say that? Why did you say that? Obviously, Scott Boras was going to read that. Scott Boras and Steve Cohen are supposed to have a pretty good business relationship. Scott Boras is the agent for Carlos Correa, who represents plenty of big-time baseball players in MLB. And I just felt that probably was used leverage-wise for Steve Cohen. The Mets, they had the doctors. They get, a lot of the reason why Correa didn't sign with the Mets is because, yes, money-wise, but it was more of the language that was inside the contract. The fact that Correa would have required a physical constantly. I think they said every year or every other year. That's something that Carlos Correa did not want. I mean, clearly the Mets medical staff, along with the San Francisco Giants medical staff, did see something along the lines where they saw something that could be alarming with the ankle, that the ankle possibly was not going to hold up. And the Twins was like, you know what? We need to keep this guy. I mean, they had him last year. The man had a pretty good season, batting over 290. I think it was like average of 291, 22 home runs. Man had a 5.1 WAR, which is wins above replacement. So he had a very, very good year. But Twins swooped in, gave him 6 years, $200 million. The Mets offer was 6 years, $157.5. So Twins definitely, went out of their way, and they really wanted to keep this guy. And by keeping this guy, they ensure that, there is no opt-outs whatsoever in this deal. So he will be there for the 6 years. I don't recall if there was a no trade clause by any chance. And obviously there is not going to be any there's not going to be anything within the contract where it requires Carlos Correa to constantly get a physical. Kudos on the Twins on getting him. As for the Mets, I mean, look, Mets had a pretty busy offseason. I can't imagine them getting anything, big significantly. I think anything else significantly would have to require a trade. But this definitely does help out the Mets, in this aspect. What they were going to offer Carlos Correa. And there's rumors that the Mets are more than likely going to go after Manny Machado in the next offseason. And it's a guaranteed fact that they're going to go after Shohei Ohtani. And that's a clear given. I mean, the money that they were going to give, Carlos Correa, they're going to most likely offer that to Manny Machado. All right. And Manny Machado is expected to opt out of his $300 million contract that he has signed with the San Diego Padres back in, I believe it was 2018. It's known that he's had a well relationship with Buck Showalter, so that's something that might be appeasing towards him. But for right now, I mean, the Mets, they do have a very, very good team. offensively. I mean, you got Pete Alonso, whose contract is going to be coming up soon. So I'm very curious to see what are the Mets going to do with him. I expect Steve Cohen and Billy Epler to throw an absorbent amount of money at Pete Alonso, because that man has to say. Jeff McNeil's contract is going to be coming up pretty soon. I wonder how they're going to handle those contract talks. You have Lindor there. He signed a $300 million contract 2 years ago. Third base right now, which would have been Carlos Correa, that would now be Brett Beatty's spot. I think after getting a little bit more playing time in the big leagues, Brett Beatty might turn out to be a pretty decent, if not above average, third baseman. I mean, I love his swing. His swing is pretty beautiful. The swing reminds me of Josh Hamilton. Not saying that he is going to be something of a Josh Hamilton, but the way that he swings the bat, it seems very effortlessly. All right. Beatty last year, had to get shut down because I believe it was a broken wrist, if I'm not mistaken. But it's all taken care of. Brett Beatty is going to be the third baseman for New York Mets. Catcher position, Mets ended up getting Omar Narvaez as a backup. Francisco Alvarez is going to get more playing time this year. He's going to have a full year under his belt in the big leagues. I mean, we saw what he ended up doing the last 10 days in the big leagues. Unfortunately, the Mets threw him in a very tough situation by facing the Braves. Pretty much whoever was going to win the East, right? And that really did determine who was going to win the East. And then obviously you have your outfield, Canna, you have Marte, all right. They have pieces that they can do, with Nimmo too. He ended up resigning as well. So Mets have, a pretty decent team. The Mets did win 101 wins they won 101 wins last year. I'm pretty sure they can get around that number, if not close enough to it. The Mets are in good hands. It's just the only thing is just that Carlos Correa would have been the cherry on top for this Mets ball club for the 2023 season. But it's all right. I mean, the Mets will just have to do better when it comes to next year's off season. But as of right now, Mets starting third baseman will be Brett Beatty. Carlos Correa is the shortstop of the Minnesota Twins. The guy returns back to the scene of the crime. Kind of bothered me on Minnesota Twins Twitter. I ended up seeing them saying, welcome back home. Well, in reality, it just kind of bothered me because Carlos Correa did not want to really be there. The man chose San Francisco and the New York Mets over the Twins. He just happened to sign with the Twins because of the fact that the Twins were going to be one of the few teams to just be like, you know what? Doesn't even matter. We'll pass you the physical. We'll give you the 6 years that you want, because they're a small market team and they have to retain their best players. It's very rare that you have a player of Carlos Correa's caliber just come up through your farm system. And if you have somebody like him, you're going to have to overpay. And that's exactly what the Minnesota Twins ended up doing. But yeah, guys, Carlos Correa is a Minnesota Twin. In other news, what's it called? I don't know if you guys have been sleeping underneath a rock. I know I didn't make a video of it. But Rafael Devers will be staying with the Boston Red Sox. The man signed a $300 million contract. Kudos to the Red Sox. They secured third base for themselves for the next 10 plus years. I mean, I was wondering, is John Henry was going to let Rafael Devers leave or not? They let Xander Bogaerts go. He signs with San Diego. They traded away Mookie Betts. I mean, and I know they ended up getting Alex Verdugo within that trade package. But my, oh my. Devers is now a Red Sox pretty much for the entirety of his Major League career. And Carlos Correa is a Minnesota Twin. He is not a New York Met. I hope that this is the last time that we have to speak about Carlos Correa this offseason, because, man, oh man, the saga with him has just been annoying. But he's official. He's a Minnesota Twin. Mets will have their third baseman, Brett Beatty. He might be the future third baseman, but let's see how things goes. Until then, guys, I am Flav Oriana. Thank you for tuning in. Take your base. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace, guys. Have a good one. See you. Peace.